Tonight we're diving into the slow, soothing history of the printing press, a story that starts in the dusty corners of ancient civilizations and stretches all the way to the glowing screens you're probably squinting at right now. Picture yourself in a sun-baked Mesopotamian marketplace, the air thick with the scent of clay and olive oil, as merchants press intricate seals into soft tablets to mark their goods. It's the dawn of recorded history, and you're standing at the very root of printing itself. This tale is long, 2 hours long to be exact, so you probably won't survive this without dozing off, and that's the whole point. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'm curious where you're drifting off from tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're trudging through the sands of time, back to around 3000 BCE, where the earliest whispers of printing begin. In ancient Mesopotamia, you're holding a cylinder seal, a small stone carved with intricate designs. Think tiny lions or gods with pointy hats. You roll it across wet clay, and bam, it leaves a perfect impression, like a proto-rubber stamp. These seals aren't just for show. They're proof of ownership, a way to say, this jar of barley is mine. Hands off. Fast forward to ancient Egypt, and you're watching scribes carve hieroglyphs into stone, or press them into papyrus with reed pens. It's not printing as you'd know it, but it's the first step. Repeating symbols to share ideas. The quirky thing, some seals were made from baked dung. Yep, you heard that. Cow patties shaped into art. Historians still argue whether these were purely practical or carried some sacred vibe. Now, shift gears to ancient China, around 200 BCE. You're in a bustling Han Dynasty workshop, the air sharp with the smell of sandalwood. Artisans are carving seals, but they're not stopping at simple stamps. They're experimenting with inked stones to transfer patterns onto silk. This is where things get juicy. The Chinese figure out how to standardize impressions, making multiple copies without breaking a sweat. You're watching a scribe dip a carved stone into ink, probably made from soot and glue, and press it onto fabric. It's slow, meticulous, but it's a game changer. Unlike the Mesopotamians, who were mostly marking goods, the Chinese are starting to share stories, poems, even government edicts. The mainstream fact here is that these early techniques laid the groundwork for woodblock printing, which we'll get to soon. But for now, you're stuck in this moment, the clink of stone against stone, the faint smudge of ink on a worker's fingers. Let's pause for a chuckle. Imagine trying to explain this to your buddy Dave, who can't even get his printer to connect to Wi-Fi. Back in my day, we carved our own seals, you'd say, and Dave would just stare, baffled. The Chinese, though, they're not messing around. By the Han Dynasty, they're using seals for everything. Tax records, religious charms, even early bureaucracy. You're holding one of these charms now, a tiny square etched with characters promising good luck. It's not just a trinket. It's a glimpse into a world where repeating an image or word starts to feel like power. The catch? It's still one-off work. If you want 10 copies, you're carving or stamping 10 times. Your hands would cramp just thinking about it. Before we move on, picture yourself in a quiet corner of this workshop. The sun's setting, casting long shadows over the clay tablets and inked stones. You're starting to see how these small, repetitive acts, pressing a seal, inking a stone, are the first sparks of something massive. The printing press is still centuries away, but you're standing on its ancient foundation. Every smudge of ink, every carved line, is a step toward a world where ideas can spread faster than gossip at a village well. For now, though, you're just soaking in the rhythm of it all, the slow, deliberate work that's about to change everything. You're still lingering in that ancient Chinese workshop, the scent of fresh-cut wood mingling with the ink from those early seals, as the Han Dynasty gives way to something even more ingenious. By the time the Tang Dynasty rolls around in the 7th century CE, you're watching artisans take those simple stamping ideas and blow them up into full-blown woodblock printing. Picture this. A craftsman selects a smooth plank of pear wood, soft enough to carve but sturdy for the long haul, and sketches an entire page of text backward onto its surface. Why backward? So when you press it onto paper, the words flip right side up, like a mirror image coming to life. You're dipping a brush into thick black ink made from pine soot and glue, slathering it over the carved block, then laying a sheet of rice paper on top. With a gentle rub from a bamboo tool, the text transfers perfectly. It's not just one copy. You can crank out hundreds from a single block, as long as the wood doesn't wear down. This isn't some niche hobby. It's a revolution in how knowledge spreads. The mainstream historical fact is that woodblock printing allowed for the mass production of books for the first time, with the Diamond Sutra from 868 CE being the oldest known printed book, a Buddhist text that's basically an ancient bestseller. You're unrolling this scroll in your mind. Its page is crisp and uniform, filled with intricate illustrations of Buddha and his teachings. Before this, everything was handwritten by monks or scholars, prone to errors like a sleepy scribe mixing up characters. Now, you're seeing government officials use it to print calendars, medical texts, and even playing cards. Yes, the Chinese invented those too, probably for some late-night gambling sessions in the imperial court. The quirky tidbit? Some blocks were carved with erotic illustrations, hidden away in private collections, because even back then, people wanted their spicy reads without the judgment of a copyist. You're running your fingers over the grooves of a freshly carved block, feeling the precision of each character. It's meditative, almost hypnotic, the way the knife slices through the wood, removing everything but the raised lines that will hold the ink. But here's where the sarcasm slips in. Imagine being that poor artisan, carving an entire book page in reverse. One slip-up, and you've got to start over. No undo button in the Tang dynasty. It's like texting a novel on a flip phone. Admirable, but why? Historians still argue whether woodblock printing truly originated in China, or if similar techniques popped up independently in other Asian cultures, like Korea or Japan. But the evidence leans heavy toward the Middle Kingdom as the pioneer. As you delve deeper, you're witnessing the boom in literacy that follows. In the Song dynasty, around the 10th century, woodblock printing hits its stride. You're strolling through a bustling marketplace in Kaifeng, the capital, where vendors hawk printed Confucian classics, poetry anthologies, and agricultural manuals. Farmers are learning better crop rotation from these books. Scholars are debating philosophy without hoarding rare manuscripts. It's like the internet of its day, democratizing information, though only for those who could read classical Chinese, which was about as user-friendly as assembling IKEA furniture without pictures. The process itself is a team effort. One guy carves, another inks, a third presses. You're part of the assembly line now, your hands sticky with ink, the rhythmic thump of the press lulling you into a trance. If woodblock printing was around today, your grandma's recipe book would be immortalized in wood, and every Thanksgiving, you'd be rubbing turkey gravy stains off the family heirloom. But seriously, this text spreads like wildfire. Well, carefully controlled fire, since paper and wood are flammable. You're seeing Buddhist monks adopt it en masse, printing sutras to accumulate good karma, believing each copy brings enlightenment closer. One massive project, the Tripitaka Koreana, wait, that's Korean, but it's inspired by Chinese methods, involved carving over 80,000 blocks. Imagine the splinters. In China, though, it's the everyday stuff that shines. Printed money to curb counterfeiting, maps for explorers, even novels like The Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which you're flipping through in your imagination. It's epic battles and betrayals leaping off the page. Yet, for all its wonders, woodblock has limits. You're noticing how each block is fixed, one design per plank. Want to change a word? Carve a new block. It's efficient for static text like religious scriptures, but a nightmare for anything evolving, like news or science. That's the gentle sarcasm here. Humanity's first mass media, and it's as flexible as a brick. Still, you're marveling at the artistry. Illustrations blend seamlessly with text. Dragons curling around poems, landscapes framing stories. The ink's subtle sheen under lantern light makes each print feel alive, almost whispering secrets from the past. As the dynasty progresses, you're seeing refinements, better inks from exotic resins, finer papers from mulberry bark. The quirky fringe? Some printers used human hair for brushes, claiming it held ink better than animal bristles. Talk about a bad hair day turning productive. And the debate rages on among scholars about how much this influenced European printing later. Was it direct transmission via the Silk Road or just parallel evolution? You're pondering this as you watch a block being stored, wrapped in silk to protect it from humidity, ready for another run of copies. Wrapping up this era, you're feeling the weight of those wooden blocks, each one a vessel of preserved wisdom. It's slow, yes, but in this sleepy narrative, that's the charm. The deliberate pace that built empires of knowledge. You're easing forward, the echo of the press fading slightly. But the foundation is set for what comes next. You're easing out of that Song Dynasty marketplace, the faint scent of mulberry paper still clinging to your senses, as the innovations keep unfolding like a slow-blooming lotus. It's the 11th century now, and you're stepping into the humble workshop of Bai Sheng, a clever inventor who's about to flip the script on printing, literally. Picture yourself hunched over a table cluttered with clay fragments, the air warm from a nearby kiln, as Bai painstakingly molds individual characters from a sticky mix of clay, resin, and fiber. He bakes them until they're hard as stone, then arranges them into a frame coated with pine resin to hold them in place. You're watching him ink this setup, press paper onto it, and pull away a perfect page of text. It's movable type, baby, the first of its kind, where you can rearrange those little clay pieces for any new content without carving a whole new block each time. This is where printing starts feeling personal, almost like playing with ancient Legos. The mainstream historical fact is that Bai Sheng's invention, detailed in Shen Kuo's 1045 CE book Dream Pool Essays, allowed for flexible text production during the Song Dynasty, boosting the output of books on everything from agriculture to astronomy. You're flipping through one of these early prints in your mind, a Confucian treatise, its characters crisp and uniform, no more endless carving for static pages. Before this, woodblocks were great for big runs of the same thing, but editing, forget it. Now, you're swapping out a single character if there's a typo, like correcting autocorrect on your phone, but with way more elbow grease. The quirky tidbit. Bai experimented with wooden type first, but switched to clay. Because wood swelled in humid weather, imagine your printing setup throwing a tantrum every rainy day. You're feeling the texture of these clay types now, each one no bigger than a coin, etched with a single Chinese character. There are thousands of them, sorted in trays like a massive Scrabble set from hell. Bai's method involves aligning them in rows on an iron plate, securing with wax or resin, then inking with a brush. The press is simple, a wooden frame applying even pressure. It's not fast. You're taking your time, arranging, rearranging. The soft clink of clay on metal soothing like rain on a tin roof. But here's the gentle sarcasm. In a world without spell check, one wrong character could turn a wise proverb into nonsense, like accidentally printing carpe diem as carpet diem. Seize the rug, anyone? Historians still argue whether Bai's movable type was widely adopted, or just a brilliant flash in the pan, overshadowed by the sheer number of Chinese characters, over 80,000 possibilities, versus the Latin alphabet's measly 26. As you delve deeper, you're seeing the practical magic. In the Song era, with its booming economy and scholar official class, demand for books skyrockets. You're in a government printing house now, where officials use Bai's tech to produce edicts, exam prep materials, and even novels for the literati. It's a step toward efficiency, though clay types are fragile. Drop one, and it shatters like your grandma's fine china during a family dinner gone wrong. To fix that, Bai bakes them extra hard, but they still wear out after a few hundred impressions. You're imagining the frustration. Midway through a print run, a key character cracks, and you're back to molding a replacement. Yet this innovation sparks ideas. Soon, others tinker with variations, like using tin or bronze for durability, though those come later. If Bai Sheng were alive today, he'd probably be that guy 3D printing custom fonts, patenting the heck out of it. But back then, no patents, just the satisfaction of changing the game. You're watching him demonstrate his invention to skeptical scholars, their robes swishing as they lean in, murmuring approvals. The process is hypnotic. Mix the clay, shape it with a knife, fire it in the kiln until it glows red, then cool and sort. The smoke from the kiln curls lazily upward, carrying the earthy scent that fills the room. Each type is a tiny masterpiece, handcrafted with precision that would make a watchmaker jealous. Now, picture the first big project using this, maybe a collection of poems by Su Shi, the famous poet official. You're assembling the types, line by line, the characters clicking into place like puzzle pieces. Ink rolls on smoothly, a mix of lampblack and varnish, and the paper, thin, absorbent mulberry, captures every stroke. Pull it away, and there's your page, ready to be bound into a book. It's not perfect. Alignment can be tricky, leading to wonky lines that give prints a handmade charm. Movable type meant you could finally say, hold the presses, and actually rearrange things, unlike wood blocks that were set in stone, wood. But the real beauty is in the scalability. You're envisioning workshops scaling up, apprentices learning the craft, churning out texts that educate the masses. Well, the literate masses anyway. Reading was still elite, but more accessible now. The fringe element? Some sources whisper that Bai's clay types were sometimes infused with herbal essences to ward off insects, turning printing into a bug-repellent side hustle. And the scholarly debate lingers. Did Bai draw inspiration from earlier seal making, or was this pure genius sparked by observing coin minting? Either way, you're soaking in the quiet triumph of it all. As the day wanes in this imaginary workshop, the kiln's glow dims, and you're left with stacks of fresh prints, their ink still tacky. It's a bridge from rigid woodblocks to something adaptable, setting the stage for global ripples. The pace is deliberate, each step a whisper toward progress, lulling you deeper into this historical haze. You're drifting across the sea now, from the clay-scented workshops of Song China to the misty mountains of Korea, where the air carries the tang of molten metal and the whisper of innovation. It's the 13th century, during the Goryeo dynasty, and you're stepping into a royal foundry, the heat from the furnaces warming your face as skilled metallurgists pour bronze into molds. Remember those fragile clay types from Baisheng? Well, here in Korea, they're taking that idea and toughening it up, casting individual characters in metal, bronze or copper, that can withstand thousands of impressions without cracking. You're watching a craftsman align these shiny types on a beeswax-coated tray, much like Bai's setup, but with a durability that feels eternal. Ink them up, press the paper, and pull away a page that's sharp, consistent, ready for the ages. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a leap toward reliability in printing. The mainstream historical fact is that Korea developed the world's first metal movable type around 1234 CE, used to print the Jikji, a Buddhist text from 1377, that's recognized as the oldest extant book printed with metal type, predating Gutenberg's Bible by nearly 80 years. You're holding this imaginary volume in your hands, its pages filled with Zen teachings, the characters embossed with a metallic precision that wood or clay could never match. Before this, printing was at the mercy of materials that warped or broke. Now, you're seeing types reused endlessly, perfect for large-scale projects like the Tripitaka Koreana, a massive collection of over 80,000 wooden blocks reprinted in metal for backups. The quirky tidbit: some metal types were alloyed with a dash of gold for royal editions, turning humble texts into glittering treasures. Because why not add a little bling to your enlightenment? You're feeling the weight of a single bronze character now, cool and solid in your palm, engraved with a Hangul precursor or Chinese hanja. The process is mesmerizing. Melt the metal in a crucible over charcoal fires, pour it into sand molds carved with reverse letters, then file down the edges for perfect fit. It's like blacksmithing meets calligraphy, the clang of hammers echoing softly in the background. But here's the sleepy sarcasm. In an era without coffee breaks, these guys are melting metal all day. Talk about a hot job, literally. No wonder they needed Zen meditation to cool off. Historians still argue whether Korean metal type directly influenced European developments, or if it was a case of convergent evolution, with ideas traveling silk roads or staying siloed by geography. As you immerse deeper, you're witnessing the royal patronage that fuels this. King Gojong and his court see printing as a tool for preserving Buddhist scriptures amid Mongol invasions. Nothing says cultural survival like indestructible type. You're in the temple printing halls of Ganghwa Island, where monks and artisans collaborate, the sea breeze sneaking through bamboo screens to temper the forge's heat. Each type is sorted in vast cabinets, labeled by phonetic groups, making composition faster than Bai's clay jumble. Imagine the efficiency. Set a page, print 100 copies, disassemble, and reuse for the next sermon. It's modular magic, reducing waste and time, though still labor-intensive. Your back would ache from bending over those trays. If Korean metal type were an app update, it'd be from beta clay to premium bronze, with fewer crashes and better longevity. But back in Goryeo, it's all about resilience. You're seeing the Jikji's creation up close, a 2-volume anthology of Buddhist wisdom, printed in a Cheongju temple. The metal types bite into the paper with authority, leaving impressions that endure centuries. Fun fact for a chuckle, the Jikji survived wars and fires, only to be discovered by a French diplomat in the 19th century, like finding a vintage comic in your attic worth millions. UNESCO even declared it a memory of the world. But shh, we're keeping this narrative chill. The innovation doesn't stop at type. You're noticing advancements in ink and paper too. Korean mulberry paper, hanji, is tougher than Chinese varieties, resisting tears and absorbing ink without bleeding. The ink, a refined soot blend with animal glue, applied with horsehair brushes for even coverage. You're part of the printing ritual now. Warm the wax base, slot in the types row by row, lock them with wooden wedges, press with a lever system, primitive but effective, and voila, another page joins the stack. The rhythm is hypnotic, each pull of the lever like a deep breath, in and out, lulling you into historical reverie. But let's not gloss over the challenges. Metal's expensive, bronze isn't cheap, reserved for elite projects. You're pondering the economics. Royal funding covers it, but for everyday folks, woodblocks remain king for affordability. The fringe element? Legends say some types were cast with meteorite iron for celestial power, a quirky belief that printing with star-fallen metal could imbue texts with divine clarity. True or tall tale? It adds that mystical ASMR whisper to the clink of metal. Scholarly debates swirl like the forge's smoke. Did Korean envoys carry samples to the West, or did Marco Polo whisper secrets? Evidence is scant, but the influence on later Asian printing is undeniable. Japan adopts similar methods soon after. You're envisioning the global web, threads connecting east to west, even if indirectly. For now, though, you're basking in Korea's metallurgical glow, the furnaces dimming as evening falls, casting long shadows over neatly stacked prints. The air cools, the metallic tang fades, but the legacy lingers, a sturdy bridge from clay fragility to enduring type. It's a slow evolution, each cast character a step in this endless journey of words made permanent. You're crossing oceans and centuries now, leaving behind the metallic clink of Korean types for the hushed cloisters of medieval Europe, where the air is thick with the musty scent of vellum and the faint scratch of quill on parchment. It's the Middle Ages, roughly from the 5th to the 15th century, and you're slipping into a dimly lit scriptorium, a monastery room dedicated to copying manuscripts by hand. Monks in rough woolen robes huddle over sloping desks, their fingers stained black from iron gall ink, meticulously transcribing texts from dawn till dusk. You're one of them now, dipping a goose feather quill into the ink pot, feeling the nib split slightly for that perfect line width, as you copy line after line of Latin scripture or classical philosophy. It's slow, deliberate work, each page taking hours, each book months or even years to complete. This era is all about the manuscript, those handwritten treasures that preserved knowledge through the Dark Ages. The mainstream historical fact is that medieval scribes produced illuminated manuscripts like the Book of Kells, an intricately decorated gospel book from around 800 CE, showcasing the pinnacle of Celtic art with its swirling designs and vibrant pigments. You're gazing at its pages in your mind, gold leaf gleaming, colours derived from crushed lapis lazuli for blues, saffron for yellows, turning simple text into a visual symphony. But remember those efficient metal types from Korea? Here, everything's manual, prone to human error. A sneeze mid-sentence, and you've got a blotch ruining the page. No mass production, each book is unique, a labour of love or duty, often chained to library shelves to prevent theft, because they're rarer than dragon's teeth. You're feeling the physical toll now, the chill of stone walls seeping into your bones, the flicker of candlelight straining your eyes as you illuminate initials with tiny brushes. Vellum, made from calfskin, is your canvas, stretched, scraped, and polished to a smooth sheen. It's durable but finicky, too humid and it warps like a bad hair day. Some scribes used knife erasers, sharp blades to scrape off mistakes, but if you cut too deep, you'd patch it with a snippet of vellum sewn in, creating Frankenstein-like pages. Imagine explaining that to a modern editor. Sorry, boss, I had to stitch the paragraph back together. Historians still argue whether the scriptorium system stifled innovation or actually fostered it, with debates on how much oral tradition influenced the written word before printing standardized texts. As you settle into the rhythm, the scratch-scratch of quills becomes a lullaby. You're copying Aristotle's works, salvaged from Arabic translations brought back by crusaders, or perhaps a medical treatise by Galen. Monasteries are the knowledge hubs, but access is elite. Nobles, clergy, scholars only. Universities like Bologna or Oxford emerge in the 12th century, craving more texts, but supply lags. You're witnessing the bottleneck, One master copy, lent out for duplication, returned dog-eared and annotated. Errors creep in, omissions, additions, like a game of telephone across generations. The sarcasm whispers. In a world without copy-paste, every book is artisanal, which sounds fancy until you're the one with carpal tunnel from illuminating a single letter O with vines and beasts. If medieval scribes had unions, their slogan would be quills before bills, demanding better ink and fewer all-nighters. But seriously, the process is an art form. You're mixing inks now. Oak galls boiled with iron salts for black, verdigris for green, watching the colours bloom on the page. Illumination adds flair, gold burnished with an agate stone for shine. Miniatures depicting biblical scenes or daily life. Think of the Lindisfarne Gospels, where Viking raids interrupted work, leaving some pages unfinished. A historical cliffhanger. The fringe element? Some manuscripts include curse formulas against thieves, like, "May he who steals this book be damned to eternal fire." Medieval copyright with a hellish twist. You're navigating the social side too. Not all scribes are monks. By the late Middle Ages, lay professionals in cities like Paris form guilds, churning out secular books, romances, law codes, even early novels like the Arthurian legends. Women contribute in nunneries, copying devotional texts with equal precision. The demand surges with the rise of trade and towns, but limitations bite. Books cost a fortune, equivalent to a year's wages for a labourer. You're haggling in a bookseller's stall, the parchment crackling under your touch, knowing this tome could educate a generation or gather dust in a lord's library. Yet, cracks show in this system. You're sensing the frustration. Duplicating a Bible takes a year, and if the original has flaws, they propagate like weeds. Scholarly debates rage over authenticity. Is this Virgil's Aeneid accurate, or did a drowsy scribe swap heroes mid-epic? The pace is glacial. Knowledge silos in monasteries, while the world outside hungers for more. Remember the woodblocks from China? Whispers of Eastern tech might have trickled via trade routes, but Europe's isolated, reinventing the wheel. You're pondering the book famine of the 14th century, exacerbated by plagues and wars, where libraries burn and scribes perish. As evening falls in the scriptorium, the last candle gutters out, leaving you in twilight with ink-smudged hands. The manuscripts stack like silent guardians, beautiful but burdensome. It's a world on the cusp, the painstaking craft about to meet mechanical might, though you don't know it yet. The quill's whisper fades, echoing the era's quiet desperation for something faster, more forgiving. You're emerging from the shadowy scriptoriums of Europe, the echo of quills fading like a distant memory, as the Rhine River's gentle flow carries you to 15th century Mainz, a bustling German town alive with the clang of blacksmiths and the chatter of merchants. It's around 1440, and you're slipping through a nondescript door into Johannes Gutenberg's secret workshop, the air heavy with the metallic tang of molten lead and the earthy aroma of fresh oak timbers. Shh, keep it quiet. This place is shrouded in mystery, funded by shady loans and guarded like a dragon's hoard. You're standing amid half-assembled contraptions, wooden frames, iron screws, and piles of tiny metal letters that glint under the flickering oil lamps. Gutenberg, a goldsmith by trade with a mop of dishevelled hair and ink-stained apron, is tinkering away, his brow furrowed in concentration as he pours alloy into moulds. This is ground zero for the mechanical printing press, a machine that's about to shatter the manuscript monopoly. The mainstream historical fact is that Gutenberg invented the movable type printing press around 1450, combining existing technologies like the screw press, used for wine and paper, with his innovative metal type, enabling the production of books at unprecedented speeds. You're watching him now, melting a mix of lead, tin, and antimony, his secret recipe for durable type that doesn't warp or wear out quickly. He casts individual letters, punches them with a steel die for precision, then arranges them in a form, a metal frame locked tight with coins. Slather on oil-based ink, another upgrade from watery medieval stuff. Crank the screw press and press. Out comes a printed sheet, crisp and identical to the last. It's like witnessing the Big Bang of mass communication, each pull of the lever birthing ideas into the world. You're reaching out to touch one of those metal types, a lowercase a perhaps, feeling its cool, sharp edges, the mirror image reversal that flips right when printed. The workshop hums with activity. Apprentices stoke the furnace, the heat making sweat bead on your forehead, while Gutenberg mutters curses in low German over a misaligned line. But here's the quirky tidbit. To fund this madness, Gutenberg borrowed from a shady financier named Johann Fust, who later sued him and seized the workshop. Talk about a bad business partner. Like lending your startup to a venture capitalist who turns vampire. The press itself is a beast, a massive wooden frame inspired by olive presses with a platen that descends like a guillotine, minus the chop, to imprint the page. You're imagining the first test prints, smudged calendars or indulgences, stacking up in corners, the paper sourced from nearby mills, rough and rag-based. In an age without safety goggles, Gutenberg's probably got lead poisoning from all that alloy fiddling, explaining his genius-level crankiness. "Honey, I'm home. Pass the antidote," he might quip if he had time for quips amid the secrecy. Historians still argue whether Gutenberg truly invented the press or just perfected it, with debates on how much he borrowed from Asian techniques via travelers, or if it was pure European ingenuity sparked by the Renaissance's thirst for knowledge. As you linger, the process unfolds like a slow dance. You're helping sort the types now, in cases divided into upper and lower, hence uppercase and lowercase, a term born here. Thousands of pieces, vowels galore since they're used most, each cast in multiples. The alloy's low melting point means quick production, but mind the splatters. Hot metal on skin is no joke. Gutenberg's innovation shines in the hand mold, a hinged device where you insert a matrix, the letter punch, pour in the melt, and pop out a type in seconds. It's scalable, efficient, a far cry from the monk's endless copying. You're seeing the first big project brew, the 42-line Bible. But for now, it's prototypes, broadsides, grammars, anything to test the tech. If Gutenberg had Instagram, he'd post Rast workshop wonders with filters hiding the mess, captioning, "Disrupting the scribe industry, one letter at a time." But reality's grittier. The workshop's cramped, tools scattered, hammers, files, crucibles bubbling over charcoal fires. The ink's a breakthrough too. Lamp black mixed with varnish for stickiness, rolled on with leather balls to coat the type evenly. No more watery blots. This stuff adheres like glue, drying slow enough for adjustments. You're inking a former yourself, the balls thumping softly, then sliding it under the press. Crank the handle, feel the resistance, the satisfying thud as platen meets paper. Lift, and there's your print. Black letters on creamy stock, revolutionary in their uniformity. The secrecy adds tension. You're glancing over your shoulder, half expecting spies from rival goldsmiths. Gutenberg pawns his tools for cash, experiments in hiding, even swears his workers to oaths. The quirky fringe? Rumors say he dabbled in mirrors for pilgrimage badges before printing. Polished metal discs sold as holy relics, a side hustle that honed his casting skills. Imagine, from fake miracles to real ones in movable type, and the debate persists among scholars. Was the press's impact immediate, or did it take decades to catch on? Some say it democratized knowledge overnight. Others argue literacy rates lagged, with books still pricey for peasants. Yet the magic builds. You're witnessing a eureka moment. Gutenberg aligning his first full page, the letters locking like puzzle pieces. Print, inspect, tweak. The rhythm's hypnotic. Cast, compose, ink, press, repeat. Apprentices chatter softly, the workshop's warmth wrapping you like a blanket. Light jokes to keep it breezy. Gutenberg's press was the original flatbed scanner. But instead of digitizing, it analogized the world. Or think of it as medieval Kinkos, minus the overpriced copies and that one jammed machine. As twilight creeps in through narrow windows, the furnace glows softer, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Stacks of trial prints rustle in the draft, whispering promises of a printed future. The Rhine murmurs outside, a constant companion to this birthplace of change. It's a pivotal hush, the world unknowing of the storm about to break from this humble room. You're still ensconced in Gutenberg's Mainz workshop, the Rhine's distant murmur blending with the soft hiss of cooling metal, as your focus sharpens on the heart of his invention, the movable metal type itself. Picture yourself at a cluttered workbench, surrounded by trays of these tiny marvels, each one a letter or punctuation mark cast in gleaming alloy. You're picking one up, turning it over in your palm. It's about the size of a fingernail, with a raised reverse image on top, ready to ink and imprint. Gutenberg's genius lies here, in making these pieces interchangeable, durable, and precise enough to align into flawless lines of text. You're tinkering now, sliding them into a composing stick, a handheld metal tray that holds a single line, feeling the satisfying click as they lock together, justified with spaces called quads to fill out the width. This movable type isn't just metal bits. It's a system that turns printing into an assembly line of words. The mainstream historical fact is that Gutenberg's type was made from a lead-tin antimony alloy, which had a low melting point for easy casting and high durability for repeated use, allowing presses to produce up to 3,600 pages per day once refined, leaps beyond the scribe's output of a few pages. You're watching the casting process unfold. A punch cutter engraves a steel rod with a letter's shape, strikes it into a copper matrix to create a mold, then clamps that into a handheld casting device. Pour in the molten alloy. Careful, it's hot enough to singe eyebrows. And with a flick, you've got a fresh type piece, ready after a quick trim. This method churns out duplicates fast, building a font set of hundreds for uppercase, lowercase, ligatures, and abbreviations to mimic handwritten scripts. You're arranging a sample line now, the quick brown fox. But in Latin, of course, since that's the lingua franca. Each type has a nick on the side for orientation, upside down, and your P becomes a Q, a quirky detail that saves countless headaches. The alloy's magic. It expands slightly as it cools, filling the mold perfectly for sharp edges, then contracts just enough to pop out easily. But here's the quirky tidbit. Early types sometimes included longus that looked like F, leading to hilarious misreads in old prints, like suck instead of fuck in polite company. Wait, no, the other way around, but you get the drift. A font faux pas that puzzled readers for centuries. Align them in the form, a larger frame for the full page, and lock with furniture, wooden blocks, and coins to prevent shifting under pressure. Imagine Gutenberg's apprentices complaining about type lice, those pesky spaces that scatter like bugs when you drop a forme, making cleanup feel like herding cats in a foundry. No spell check back then. One inverted letter, and your holy text turns heretical. Historians still argue whether Gutenberg adapted this from goldsmithing techniques, or if he had whispers of Asian movable type via Venetian traders, debating the flow of ideas across continents in a pre-globalized world. As you delve into the mechanics, the inking draws you in. You're grabbing the ink balls, 2 leather pouches stuffed with wool, mounted on handles, and dabbing them into the viscous oil-based ink. Roll them over the type in circular motions, hearing the soft squelch as ink coats the raised surfaces without pooling in the valleys. This ink, thickened with boiled linseed oil, sticks better than the old water-based stuff, drying slowly for clean transfers. Now, slide the form onto the press bed, lay dampened paper atop, rag paper, absorbent but tough, and position the frisket to mask margins, topped by the tympan for even pressure. Fold it all down, roll under the platen, and yank the devil's tail. That's the lever, nicknamed for its shape and the trouble it causes if mishandled. Feel the press in action. The screw descends with a groan, squishing paper against inked type, the impression biting deep for that tactile bite old books have. Lift, peel the sheet, voila, a printed page, mirror flipped to readability, but it's double-sided work. Hang to dry, then flip for the verso. You're timing it. A skilled team of 2 or 3 can pull 240 impressions per hour. The rhythm hypnotic, pull after pull, like a mechanical heartbeat. The type's reusability shines. Disassemble the form, distribute types back to cases, mind the sorts, or you'll mix B with D, ready for the next composition. It's modular, efficient, a far cry from carving entire woodblocks for each page. If movable type were an app, it'd be the original drag-and-drop editor, but with lead poisoning as the premium feature. Jokes aside, the precision required is astounding. You're examining the punch cutting. Master engravers like Gutenberg himself carve each letter backward on steel, a skill honed from minting coins or jewelry. One slip and the matrix is ruined. Start over. The quirky fringe? Some types included astrological symbols or alchemical marks, hinting at Gutenberg's possible interest in the occult, blending science with mysticism in his quest for perfect print. You're troubleshooting now. Type too soft? Add more antimony for hardness. Ink too thin? Boil longer. Paper too wet? It bleeds. Too dry? It cracks. These tweaks make the system sing, evolving through trial and error in that secretive space. The debate among scholars lingers. How much did contemporaries like Lawrence Koster in Harlem contribute? Or was Gutenberg the sole wizard? Claims of stolen ideas swirl, but evidence points to his workshop as the crucible. Yet, the beauty is in the flow. You're composing a full page, letters marching into place, the form growing heavy with potential. Ink, press, print. The cycle lulls you, the workshop's warmth enveloping like a dream. Stacks of fresh sheets pile up, their scent of oil and fibre mingling, each one a testament to ingenuity. The Rhine whispers outside, a counterpoint to the press's thud as night deepens. You're pulling away from the press's final thud in Gutenberg's workshop, the ink's sharp scent lingering on your fingertips as stacks of freshly printed sheets begin to accumulate like autumn leaves. It's the mid-1450s now, and you're turning your attention to the crowning achievement of this new technology, the Gutenberg Bible, also known as the 42-line Bible for its neatly formatted columns. Picture yourself in a quiet annex of the workshop, the air cooler here away from the furnaces, as apprentices carefully hang pages to dry on lines strung across the room. You're leafing through one of these massive tomes, over 200 pages bound in calfskin, each folio measuring about 12 by 17 inches, heavy enough to make your arms ache if you hold it too long. The text is Vulgate Latin, the standard Bible of the time, rendered in Gothic typeface that mimics the elegant script of medieval manuscripts, complete with rubricated initials added by hand in red and blue inks for that illuminated pop. This isn't just any book. It's the first major work printed with movable type in the West, a testament to Gutenberg's vision. The mainstream historical fact is that around 180 copies were produced between 1452 and 1455, with about 48 surviving today, making it one of the most valuable books in existence. One sold for over $5 million in the 1980s, though you're handling it gingerly in this dreamlike haze, not worrying about coffee stains. You're tracing the lines with your finger, 42 per page in 2 columns, justified perfectly thanks to those adjustable types and hyphens Gutenberg invented on the fly. The creation process is epic. Each Bible required over 3 million individual type impressions, with teams working in shifts to compose, print, and proof. Remember the alloy from before? It holds up beautifully, allowing for crisp letters that don't blur, even after hundreds of pulls. You're immersing in the assembly now, pages gathered into quires, folded sheets nested together, then sewn onto cords and bound between wooden boards covered in leather. Illuminators add flourishes, swirling vines, golden halos around saints, making each copy unique despite the printed base. The papers from Italian mills, vellum for deluxe editions, smooth calfskin that feels like silk under your touch. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some copies include printer's waste, scrap pages reused as binding material, hiding errors or test prints inside the covers, like Easter eggs for modern conservators who x-ray them for secrets. Imagine cracking open a Bible and finding a medieval typo party tucked away. Gutenberg aimed for perfection, but early prints had ghosting, faint echoes from previous impressions, like your printer leaving shadows of last week's grocery list on your resume. No tech support hotline back then, just Gutenberg grumbling and tweaking the ink recipe. You're watching the proofing stage, where readers scan for errors, swapped letters turning sin into sun, potentially sparking theological debates. The impact hits immediately. These Bibles spread to churches and collectors across Europe, from Frankfurt fairs to papal libraries. Suddenly, scripture isn't chained to a lectern. It's portable, though at £30, it's more luggage than pocket edition. Prices drop from a scribe's year-long wage to a teacher's annual salary. Still pricey, but accessible to the wealthy, sparking a mini-boom in personal devotion. As you delve deeper, the sensory details envelop you. The faint crackle of turning pages, the subtle sheen of ink under candlelight, the weight of history in your lap. Gutenberg's Bible isn't illustrated en masse, costs too much, but spaces are left for artists to customize, blending old craft with new tech. You're envisioning the first owners, archbishops flipping to psalms, scholars comparing variants. The immediate ripple, it standardizes the text. No more scribal drifts where a tired monk adds his own spin. Knowledge stabilizes, debates sharpen on fixed words. But the joke lands here. If the Bible was the killer app for printing, it's like launching the iPhone with just one game, wholly addictive. But wait till the App Store opens. You're pondering the logistics. Gutenberg prints on both paper and vellum, 49 vellum copies for the elite. their pages creamy and resilient, whispering luxury as you turn them. The press runs day and night, the rhythmic thump becoming Mainz's unofficial heartbeat. Funding woes persist. Remember Fust? He sues in 1455, claiming the workshop and finishing the Bibles himself, with Peter Schoeffer as partner. You're witnessing the handover, Gutenberg sidelined, but his legacy sealed. The impact spreads. Copies reach England, Italy, Spain, carried by merchants like precious cargo. Churches use them for services, universities for study. Suddenly, theology isn't oral folklore. It's verifiable print. Think of the Gutenberg Bible as the original viral content, shared not via likes, but mule trains and ships, influencing minds from monarchs to monks. Yet challenges arise. The church initially embraces it for uniformity, but later fears uncontrolled dissemination. You're seeing the first reviews, praise for clarity, gripes about lacking the soul of handwriting. The fringe element? Conspiracy whispers that Gutenberg embedded alchemical symbols in the typeface, hidden codes for the initiated, turning the Bible into a Renaissance Da Vinci puzzle. True, probably not, but it adds that ASMR tingle as you scan for secrets. Historians still argue whether the Bible was Gutenberg's sole focus, or if smaller jobs like indulgences funded it, debating the timeline amid scant records. Lawsuits destroyed much evidence. You're flipping to the colophon, the printer's note at the end, absent in early editions for anonymity, but later added to claim credit. The text flows majestically, Genesis's in principio, rendered with gravitas, Revelation's closing on apocalyptic flair. Each Bible's a masterpiece, some with hand-painted miniatures of Adam and Eve or the Four Horsemen, colours vivid as fresh berries. But the real magic is the immediacy. Print a sermon, distribute tomorrow. You're imagining the buzz at book fairs. Have you seen the new Bible? No scribes needed. Laughter echoes faintly. A light joke. It's like upgrading from dial-up to fibre optic for divine downloads. The impact echoes. Literacy inches up. Ideas percolate. For now, though, you're closing the cover softly, the leather creaking, the workshop's hum fading into a peaceful lull. The Bible rests, its pages guardians of a turning point, as the Rhine's flow carries whispers of change onward. You're stepping out of Gutenberg's Mainz workshop, the weight of that monumental Bible still echoing in your mind like a distant church bell, as the technology begins its swift journey beyond the Rhine's banks. It's the late 1450s, and you're hitching a ride with itinerant printers, former apprentices, perhaps, or opportunistic craftsmen who pack up presses, type cases, and ink barrels onto creaking wagons bound for distant cities. Picture the cobblestone roads of the Holy Roman Empire, rutted from endless traffic, as these mobile innovators rumble towards Strasbourg, Cologne, and Bamberg, spreading the gospel of movable type like missionaries with a mechanical twist. Word travels fast among goldsmiths and scholars. Gutenberg's secret is out, books by the bundle, cheap and quick. You're watching Fust and Schoeffer, now running the show in Mainz, crank out more Bibles and Psalters. But their real coup is exporting the know-how, training locals in the art of the press. This dissemination isn't a slow trickle, it's a floodgate bursting open. The mainstream historical fact is that by 1500, printing presses had spread to over 200 European cities, producing more than 20 million books, a volume that dwarfed the entire manuscript output of the previous millennium. You're arriving in Venice now, around 1469, where Aldus Manutius sets up shop amid the canal's misty glow, the air salted with sea brine and the scent of fresh vellum. Italian humanists, hungry for classical texts, embrace the press. Plato, Aristotle, Virgil flow from workshops like wine from barrels. Aldus innovates with smaller formats, octavos, pocket-sized books for scholars on the go, bound in cheap paper covers. You're slipping one into your robe, lightweight, portable, a far cry from those chained tomes in monastery libraries. The spread accelerates via trade routes. Venetian merchants ship presses to France, Spain, even the Ottoman Empire. The religious tensions slow it there. You're feeling the excitement in Paris by the 1470s, where the Sorbonne hums with new presses imported from Germany. French printers like Nicolas Jensen refine typefaces, ditching Gothic for elegant Roman styles inspired by ancient inscriptions. Smoother, easier on the eyes, like upgrading from blocky pixels to high def. The quirky tidbit? Early French prints included printer's marks, logos like a dolphin wrapped around an anchor for Aldus, symbols that branded books like modern trademarks, warding off copycats in a world without copyrights. Imagine flipping to the colophon and seeing that cheeky emblem, a nod from the printer. Made with care in Venice, don't steal my style. But theft happens anyway. Knowledge leaks through apprentices jumping ship, carrying molds and techniques in their heads. If printing spread like a virus, Mainz was patient zero and Europe the unvaccinated crowd, everyone catching the bug, from bishops to booksellers. No firewalls back then, just open borders and eager entrepreneurs. You're in Antwerp now, a booming port in the Low Countries, where presses multiply like rabbits, churning out maps, almanacs, and heretical pamphlets that'll fuel later fires. The technology adapts. In England, William Caxton brings it across the Channel in 1476, setting up in Westminster. You're in his shop, the air thick with London fog seeping through cracks, as he prints Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, the first book in English, riddled with folksy tales that make you smirk at the miller's rude antics. Caxton tweaks the type for English quirks, adding letters like thee for thief, bridging old script to new print. As you wander further, the impact ripples through society. In Basel, Swiss precision meets printing. Johann Froben collaborates with Erasmus, producing Greek New Testaments that scholars devour. You're poring over one, the dual columns of Latin and Greek side by side, footnotes crammed in, a layout innovation that sparks debates on Scripture's true meaning. The spread isn't uniform. Eastern Europe lags, with presses arriving in Krakow by 1473, printing Slavic texts amid snowy winters. In Spain, post-Reconquista fervor sees Hebrew and Arabic fonts developed, though the Inquisition later burns undesirable books. You're sensing the double-edged sword. Printing empowers, but also amplifies control. Monarchs license presses to curb dissent. Historians still argue whether the rapid spread was driven more by economic pull, demand for legal texts, indulgences, or cultural push from Renaissance curiosity, with some claiming Italian patronage accelerated it faster than German origins suggest. You're pondering this in a Nuremberg tavern, overhearing printers boast, "From Mainz to Milan in a decade. Who needs scribes? The mechanics evolve too. Better screws for presses, alloy tweaks for type longevity." You're helping unload a wagon in Lyon, France's printing hub by the 1490s, where fairs buzz with book deals. Stacks of incunabula, books printed before 1501, pile high. Herbals with woodcut illustrations of plants, their leaves almost tangible on the page. But let's not ignore the human element. You're meeting the wanderers. Swabian printers trekking to Subiaco, Italy, in 1465, establishing the first press outside Germany. Their monastery setting blends old monastic copying with new machines. The whir of the press echoing off stone walls like a mechanical chant. The quirky fringe? Some early adopters believed printed books carried devil's black art, cursing them for lacking a scribe's soul. Superstition that faded as convenience won out. Imagine a skeptical monk poking at a printed page. Feels cold, like sorcery, yet adoption soars. By 1480, over 100 Italian cities have presses, Venice alone boasting 150 workshops. You're tracing the northern path to Scandinavia. Stockholm gets its first in 1483, printing missals for Chile cathedrals. In the Netherlands, Antwerp becomes an export powerhouse, shipping books to the New World later on. The pace quickens with improvements. Roller inking replaces balls for even coverage, multi-sheet presses for faster output. You're in a Flemish atelier, the canal light dancing on type cases, as artists engrave woodblocks for illustrations, integrating images with text, like early comics depicting saints' lives or anatomical diagrams. The spread fosters networks. Printers form guilds, share fonts via trade. You're at a Frankfurt book fair, the epicenter by the 1490s, stalls overflowing with tomes in multiple languages. Bargains struck, ideas exchanged. A precursor to modern conventions, minus the swag bags. Light joke here. Printing's diaspora was like a family reunion, where everyone brings the same potato salad recipe, but claims it's unique. In reality, variations emerge. French italics for cursive flair, German fracture for bold statements. As the century closes, you're reflecting on the transformation, from isolated Mainz to a continent-wide web. The Rhine's flow seems symbolic, carrying innovation downstream. Presses clatter everywhere, from Iberian shores to Baltic ports, each thud birthing knowledge. It's a whirlwind, Yet in this narrative, we savor the gradual unfurling. The wagon's slow creak heralding a new era. The air cools as evening falls over a Venetian canal, the water lapping softly, pages rustling in the breeze, a lullaby of progress. You're gliding away from the bustling book fairs of late 15th century Europe, the echo of haggling merchants fading like a soft sigh, as the printed word begins to ignite a cultural firestorm known as the Renaissance. It's the dawn of the 16th century, and you're wandering the sun-dappled streets of Florence, Italy, where the air hums with the scent of olive groves and fresh plaster from half-built palazzos. Humanists, those wide-eyed scholars obsessed with rediscovering ancient wisdom, are your companions now, clutching newly printed editions of Plato's dialogues or Cicero's orations, their pages still crisp from Venetian presses. Printing isn't just a tool here, it's the fuel pouring onto the embers of classical revival, spreading ideas faster than a rumour in a Medici court. You're flipping through a copy of Homer's Iliad, hot off Aldus Manutius's press, its portable size letting you read epic battles while lounging in a piazza, rather than chained to a dusty library lectern. This boom transforms dusty manuscripts into accessible treasures, democratizing knowledge in ways the scribes could never dream. The mainstream historical fact is that printing enabled the widespread dissemination of classical texts, with over 1,000 editions of ancient authors produced by 1500, directly fueling the Renaissance's emphasis on humanism, art, and science. Think Michelangelo sculpting David with anatomical precision drawn from printed Vitruvius treatises. You're standing in a Florentine academy now, the room alive with debate as scholars pore over identical copies of Aristotle, no longer arguing over scribal errors, but diving into the meat of philosophy. Before printing, these texts were rare, hoarded in monasteries or private collections. Now they're multiplying like rabbits, shipped across the Alps to fuel intellectual salons from Paris to Krakow. Aldus introduced the italic typeface to cram more words per page, inspired by cursive handwriting, saving paper but giving readers eye strain, like squinting at a friend's messy notes during a late-night cram session. You're feeling the intellectual buzz firsthand, your fingers tracing the elegant Roman fonts that evoke ancient inscriptions, the paper whispering under your touch as you turn to a passage on rhetoric. Printing standardizes spelling and grammar too. Latin gets a polish. Vernacular languages like Italian and French bloom in print, making Dante's Divine Comedy a household staple rather than an elite whisper. But here's the gentle sarcasm. In this era of enlightenment, scholars still bicker over translations, as if having more books means fewer arguments. Spoiler, it just amplifies the drama, like adding fuel to a Twitter feud. You're eavesdropping on a heated discussion in Padua. One humanist praises printed maps for expanding worldviews. Another gripes that errors in Ptolemy's geography persist, leading explorers astray. The press accelerates this. Columbus carries printed charts on his voyages, inspired by Marco Polo's travels, now widely available in book form. As you immerse deeper, the artistic explosion unfolds around you. In Rome, you're watching Raphael sketch frescoes in the Vatican, his designs influenced by printed engravings of classical ruins, circulated by German printers like those in Nuremberg. Woodcuts and copperplates integrate with text. Dürer's apocalyptic illustrations fly off presses, blending northern precision with Italian flair. You're holding one now, a print of Melancholia Her, its intricate details etched with a burin, the paper slightly textured from the press's bite. This visual boom sparks creativity. Artists study anatomy from Vesalius's De Humani Corporis Fabrica, printed in 1543, with stunning woodcuts that dissect the body layer by layer. Gruesome, yet groundbreaking, minus the actual blood. The Renaissance isn't just pretty paintings, it's a mindset shift, with printing as the megaphone broadcasting, "Man is the measure of all things, far and wide." If printing fueled the Renaissance, it's like giving caffeine to a sleepy philosopher. Suddenly, everyone's wide awake, debating ethics over espresso, but still can't agree on what virtue means. You're strolling through Leonardo da Vinci's Milan workshop, the air thick with linseed oil and invention sketches. Leonardo owns printed books on optics and engineering, jotting notes in the margins. His famous mirror writing perhaps a quirky anti-plagiarism trick in an age of easy copying. The press spreads his ideas posthumously too. Treatises on painting circulate, influencing generations. But the real magic is in education. Universities multiply printed textbooks, from Euclid's geometry to herbal compendiums, turning lecture halls into hubs of inquiry rather than rote memorization. You're pondering the social ripples now. In England, Thomas More's Utopia rolls off presses in 1516, critiquing society in print for all to read, or at least the literate elite, who number about 5 to 10% but punch above their weight. Women join the fray. Figures like Christine de Pizan see their works reprinted, sparking early feminist thoughts amid the humanism wave. The quirky fringe? Some printers embed hidden watermarks in paper, symbols like a fool's cap or unicorn, serving as brands but also talismans against forgery, turning each sheet into a subtle art piece. Imagine discovering one under light. Oh, this Plato's got a secret jester, fitting for philosophy's ironies. Historians still argue whether printing caused the Renaissance or merely accelerated an ongoing revival, with some claiming Byzantine refugees fleeing Constantinople in 1453 brought the classical spark, while others credit the press for scaling it beyond elite circles. You're weighing this in a quiet Venetian library, shelves groaning under incunabula, the canal light filtering through latticed windows. The debate adds depth. Without printing, would Machiavelli's The Prince have shaped politics so profoundly, or Shakespeare drawn from printed Plutarch for his plays? The boom extends to science too. Copernicus's heliocentric theory, printed in 1543, challenges the cosmos, though cautiously dedicated to the Pope to dodge backlash. Yet, not all is rosy. You're sensing the overload. Too many books lead to information anxiety. Scholars complaining of drowning in print, much like your inbox today. Piracy emerges, unauthorized reprints undercut originals, prompting early calls for protection. In Germany, Luther's theses will soon exploit this, but that's a tease for later, showing printing's power to disrupt. For now, you're basking in the glow. Art academies form. Patrons like the Medici's Commission printed catalogues of their collections, spreading aesthetic ideals. Renaissance men were supposed to master everything. Thanks to printing, they could at least read about it all without leaving their villas, like binge-watching history documentaries in book form. You're tracing the global tendrils. Ottoman printers adopt the tech for non-religious texts by the 1720s, but Europe's head starts cements its Renaissance legacy. The air softens as afternoon wanes in Florence, the Arno River murmuring below, pages fluttering in a gentle breeze. Ideas swirl like eddies, each printed word a ripple expanding outward, lulling you into the era's contemplative rhythm. The knowledge boom pulses steadily, classical echoes mingling with new voices. The press's hum a constant undercurrent. It's a slow unfurling of human potential, each book a petal in this blooming age, inviting you to linger in its serene unfolding. You're drifting from the sunlit piazzas of Renaissance Florence, where the hum of intellectual debate still lingers, into the turbulent streets of early 16th century Germany, where the air crackles with the scent of pine torches and the fervour of reform. It's 1517, and you're in Wittenberg, standing in a crowd as Martin Luther, a monk with a fiery pen, nails his 95 theses to the church door, or so legend paints it, though he likely just mailed them to the bishop. Either way, you're witnessing the spark of the Protestant Reformation, and printing is the match that sets it ablaze. Picture yourself grabbing a freshly printed pamphlet, its ink still tacky, as you read Luther's bold critiques of indulgences, those get-out-of-purgatory passes sold by the church. These single-sheet broadsides, cheap and portable, are flooding towns faster than gossip, carried by peddlers and pinned to tavern walls. Printing doesn't just spread Luther's ideas, it weaponizes them, turning theological disputes into a public spectacle. The mainstream historical fact is that the printing press enabled the rapid dissemination of Reformation texts, with over 300,000 copies of Luther's works printed between 1518 and 1525, reaching readers from peasants to princes, and fueling a religious upheaval that fractured Catholic Europe. You're flipping through one of his pamphlets now, a German translation of the Bible, printed in 1522, making scripture accessible to layfolk who'd never held a holy book before. Unlike Gutenberg's Latin tomes, these are in the vernacular, bold and direct, with woodcut illustrations of greedy popes or heroic reformers to hammer the point home. The press's speed means Luther's words hit Mainz, Leipzig and Basel within weeks, not years, outpacing church censors who scramble to burn them but can't keep up. You're standing in a Nuremberg print shop, the air thick with the tang of linseed oil and the clatter of presses working overtime. Printers like Hans Luft churn out thousands of Luther's sermons, their Gothic type dense but readable, designed for the German tongue. You're helping fold sheets into octavo booklets, small enough to smuggle in a cloak, potent enough to spark debates in alehouses. The quirky tidbit. Some pamphlets used caricatures like popes depicted as devils or donkeys, a 16th century meme war that made theology as juicy as tabloids. Imagine chuckling at a woodcut of a cardinal with donkey ears, satire that sticks thanks to the press's reach. But here's the gentle sarcasm. Luther thought he was purifying faith, yet his printed rants turned every tavern into a theology seminar. Good luck getting a quiet pint in Wittenberg now. As you dive deeper, the social earthquake unfolds. You're in a peasant's cottage, the firelight casting shadows as a farmer reads aloud Luther's call for reform to his family. The words resonating because they're in German, not Latin gibberish. Printing empowers the masses. Literacy creeps up, especially in Protestant regions, where reading scripture becomes a spiritual duty. In Catholic strongholds like Spain, you're sensing the backlash. Inquisition officials confiscate heretical prints, but smugglers sneak them through borders. The press's portability means ideas travel faster than armies. Luther's theses reach England by 1519, inspiring figures like Tyndale to print English Bibles, risking execution. You're holding one now, its pages thin but defiant, the ink a quiet rebellion against Rome's monopoly. If Luther had a blog, his clickbait titles would be 95 Reasons the Pope's Wrong, or Indulgences, Heaven's Biggest Scam, and printing ensured every click went viral. The mechanics amplify this. Broadsides cost pennies, printed in runs of thousands, while multi-page treatises like Luther's On the Freedom of a Christian circulate among scholars. Woodcuts add punch. Visual propaganda showing corrupt clergy or triumphant reformers, like Luther as a monkish superhero. You're seeing printers innovate under pressure, smaller presses for clandestine runs, secret workshops in attics. In Switzerland, Calvin's Institutes of the Christian Religion, printed in 1536, join the fray, their dense arguments spreading to France and Scotland, fueling further schisms. Some printers embedded anti-Catholic jibes in margins or colophons, like a cheeky, printed where the Pope can't find us. These Easter eggs delighted radicals, but risked raids. Printers were the hackers of their day, dodging firewalls of censorship. You're imagining the chaos. In Augsburg, a printer's apprentice hides seditious sheets under floorboards as inspectors knock. The Reformation's spread owes much to these unsung heroes, working late under candlelight, their hands stained black from ink that changes history. Yet the church fights back. Papal bulls, also printed, counter Luther, while Jesuit presses churn out Catholic defenses, turning the Reformation into a print war. Historians still argue whether printing caused the Reformation or just amplified it. Would Luther's ideas have fizzled without presses, or did the era's unrest make schism inevitable? You're pondering this in a quiet moment, standing by a Leipzig market stall, the air crisp with autumn chill, as vendors hawk Luther's latest tract alongside cabbages. The debate adds depth. Printing lowered barriers, letting laypeople question dogma, but it also polarized. Catholics and Protestants wield presses like swords, each side claiming divine truth. The technology's neutral, but its impact is seismic, splitting Christendom into camps that endure centuries. You're tracing the ripple effects. In England, Henry VIII's break with Rome gets a boost from printed propaganda, justifying his divorce and church reforms. In Geneva, Calvin's treatises shape Puritan thought, crossing oceans later to the New World. The press fosters literacy campaigns. Protestant schools teach reading to access scripture, while Catholic presses push catechisms to reclaim flocks. You're flipping through a child's primer now, its simple alphabet paired with Bible verses, the paper worn from tiny hands. Another chuckle. Printing turned theology into a spectator sport. Everyone's got an opinion. Like armchair critics at a Reformation Super Bowl. As dusk settles over Wittenberg, the town's presses slow, their rhythmic thuds softening to a hum. You're folding one last pamphlet, its words urging reform, its woodcut of Luther bold against the fading light. The Reformation's fire burns bright, fueled by ink and paper, each sheet a spark in a growing blaze. The world feels electric yet exhausting, ideas clashing like swords. But for now, the quiet rustle of pages lulls you, a gentle reminder of the power in those printed words. carrying you towards sleepier shores. You're easing out of Wittenberg's fiery pamphlet wars, the sharp tang of ink and rebellion still tingling in the air, as you shift to a quieter but equally transformative stage. The scientific revolution, unfolding across Europe in the 16th and 17th centuries. Picture yourself in a cluttered study in Padua, Italy, around 1610, where the flicker of candlelight dances on shelves stacked with printed books. Thick tomes filled with star charts, anatomical diagrams and mathematical proofs. You're leafing through Galileo Galilei's Siderius Nuncius, Starry Messenger, hot off a Venetian press, its woodcut illustrations showing Jupiter's moons for the first time. The air smells of vellum and dust, with a hint of wax from sealed letters debating new discoveries. Printing isn't just spreading ideas now, it's rewriting the cosmos, letting scientists like Galileo, Copernicus, and Kepler share precise observations with a precision scribes could never match. The press becomes the backbone of this intellectual upheaval, enabling scientists to circulate findings rapidly and build on each other's work. The mainstream historical fact is that printing facilitated the scientific revolution by standardizing and disseminating complex texts, like Copernicus's De Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium, 1543, which proposed a heliocentric universe and reached astronomers across Europe within months, sparking debates that reshaped cosmology. You're holding a copy now, its dense Latin text paired with intricate diagrams of orbiting planets. The orbits drawn with a compass's exactness, a far cry from hand-copied distortions. Before printing, scientific knowledge was trapped in manuscripts, riddled with errors or lost in fires. Now, identical copies ensure Kepler in Prague can verify Galileo's claims in Italy, creating a networked community of minds. You're peering over an astronomer's shoulder in Leiden, Netherlands, where a printed star atlas maps constellations with unprecedented clarity. The press's power lies in its visuals. Woodcuts and later copper engravings make complex ideas tangible. Take Vesalius's De Humani Corporis Fabrica, 1543. You're flipping through its pages, marveling at woodcuts of dissected muscles and bones, each layer peeled back like a biological pop-up book. These aren't just pretty pictures. They're tools for surgeons, printed in Basel and shipped to Paris, correcting Galen's ancient errors. The quirky tidbit. Early anatomical prints sometimes included fugitive sheets, fold-out flaps showing organs like a Renaissance version of a choose-your-own-adventure book, but for cadavers. Imagine a medical student giggling as they lift a paper liver to peek at the spleen. Printing gave scientists a megaphone, but it also meant every starry-eyed theorist could publish their crackpot ideas. Flat Earth pamphlets, anyone. Good luck sorting truth from noise without peer review. You're in a London coffeehouse now, around 1665, where Royal Society members debate Newton's early papers, printed in Philosophical Transactions, the first scientific journal. Printing standardizes formats. Numbered pages, indices, and citations make cross-referencing a breeze, unlike chasing scribal footnotes across continents. You're tracing equations in Tycho Brahe's Astronomiae Instauratae Mechanica, 1598. Its engraved instruments so detailed you could build a telescope from them. DIY astronomy. Courtesy of the press. The rhythm of this era is steady but thrilling. You're visiting a Frankfurt print shop, the air humming with the clank of presses churning out Kepler's Astronomia Nova, 1609, its elliptical orbits challenging Ptolemy's circles. Printers innovate for science, finer type for mathematical symbols, larger sheets for fold-out star maps. The quirky fringe? Some alchemical texts, like those of Robert Flood, mix science with mysticism. They're printed emblems of cosmic harmony, blurring the line between fact and fantasy. Think of it as the 17th century equivalent of a conspiracy blog, but with better illustrations. You're chuckling at a diagram of the universe as a giant organ, pipes and all, imagining the cosmic tune it might play. As you delve deeper, the collaborative pulse quickens. In Paris, Descartes' Discourse on Method, 1637, circulates, its clear prose inviting readers to question tradition. Printing fosters peer critique. When Galileo publishes his observations of sunspots, rivals in Germany print counter-arguments, sparking a transcontinental debate. You're imagining the mail coaches rattling between cities, carrying bound journals and letters, each page a building block in the scientific edifice. The press also democratizes a bit. Merchants and apothecaries buy herbals with printed plant illustrations, applying botany to medicine without a university degree. In Oxford, you're browsing a student's copy of Harvey's De Motu Cordis, 1628. Its blood circulation theory laid out in crisp Latin, the diagrams showing heart valves like a mechanical blueprint. Historians still argue whether printing drove the scientific revolution or merely rode its wave, debating if the oral culture of universities could have sufficed without presses. Some say the press's standardization, fixed texts, error-free math was the real catalyst, while others argue the Renaissance's curiosity set the stage, with printing as a happy accelerator. You're pondering this in a quiet moment, standing in a Leiden library, the shelves groaning under new editions of Euclid and Archimedes, their theorems now accessible to any scholar with coin. The debate adds depth. Without printing, would Newton have synthesized gravity from scattered manuscripts, or would discoveries have stayed siloed? Printing turned scientists into rock stars, but instead of groupies, they got angry bishops and dodgy woodcuts of comets. Fame's a mixed bag. The press also sparks public interest. Almanacs with tide tables and eclipse predictions sell like hotcakes, letting farmers and sailors tap into science. In Venice, you're watching a crowd gather around a printed broadside announcing a comet sighting, the woodcut exaggerating its tail like a cosmic firework. The press bridges elite and common. While nobles fund observatories, artisans read printed manuals on optics, tinkering with lenses in backrooms. Yet, there's tension. You're sensing the church's unease, Galileo's dialogue, concerning the two chief world systems, 1632, lands him in house arrest, despite its cautious tone. Printers skirt censorship, smuggling copies to Protestant lands where presses operate freer. The quirky detail? Some banned books were disguised as innocent texts, with fake title pages, like pirating a movie by labeling it a cooking show. You're holding one now, its cover claiming it's a prayer book, but inside, it's Copernicus, whispering rebellion against a geocentric world. As evening falls in this imagined study, the candle's glow softens, casting long shadows over open books. The air feels electric with discovery, yet the steady rhythm of turning pages, each one a printed milestone, lulls you deeper into this intellectual dreamscape. The scientific revolution unfolds slowly, each text a stepping stone, the press's quiet hum carrying you toward a universe measured, mapped, and printed for posterity. You're stepping away from the starlit pages of the scientific revolution, the faint glow of Galileo's telescope fading as you enter the smoky, steam-filled workshops of 19th century Europe, where the printing press is about to get a serious industrial upgrade. It's the early 1800s, and you're in a bustling London print shop, the air thick with the acrid bite of coal dust and the metallic whiff of machine oil. Gone are the hand-cranked wooden presses of Gutenberg's day. Now, you're surrounded by hulking iron contraptions, their pistons hissing and gears clanking like a mechanical symphony. The Industrial Revolution is in full swing, and printing is riding the wave, transforming from artisanal craft to mass production. You're watching a steam-powered press in action, its rollers spinning at dizzying speed, churning out thousands of sheets per hour, newspapers, novels, posters, faster than you can blink. This leap redefines how the world consumes information, making print ubiquitous. The mainstream historical fact is that the invention of the steam-powered press by Friedrich Koenig in 1814 revolutionized printing, enabling the Times of London to produce 1,100 sheets per hour compared to the 250 of manual presses, fueling the rise of mass media and literacy. You're holding a crisp copy of the Times now, its columns packed with news of Napoleon's defeat or parliamentary debates. The ink so fresh, it smudges your fingers. Steam power means scale. A single machine, driven by belts and pulleys, prints both sides of a sheet in one pass, then spits it out for folding. The workshop's a beast. Coal fires feed the boiler, steam hisses through pipes and workers dart between machines, their aprons stained with grease and ink. You're marveling at the mechanics. The Koenig press uses a cylindrical platen, not a flat one, rolling paper against inked type in a continuous motion, like a mechanical dance. Type is still metal, but now cast in bulk using stereotype plates, molded replicas of a page that withstand high-volume runs without wearing out. The quirky tidbit: these plates were sometimes made from papier-mâché molds, a weirdly low-tech trick for such a high-tech leap. Imagine squishing wet paper to shape the future of news. You're touching one now. Its surface smooth but heavy, a frozen snapshot of a newspaper layout ready for thousands of impressions. The speed is intoxicating. What took Gutenberg's team a day now takes minutes, flooding cities with print. Steam presses democratize knowledge, sure, but they also drown the world in ads for patent medicines and corsets. Freedom of the press meets buy this tonic or die. You're flipping through a penny dreadful, one of those cheap, sensational novels printed by the thousands, filled with tales of highwaymen and ghosts. These pulpy stories, born of Steam's efficiency, hook factory workers and maids, boosting literacy as people read for fun, not just duty. The press's output is staggering. By 1830, millions of newspapers circulate annually, from London's Penny Magazine to Paris's Le Figaro. You're in a Manchester newsstand, the air buzzing with hawkers shouting headlines, as readers snatch up prints still warm from the press. As you dive deeper, the social shift hits hard. In New York, you're seeing rotary presses, evolved from Koenig's design, spin out dailies like the New York Herald by the 1840s. Their penny press model, making news affordable for the working class. Literacy soars. In Britain, rates climb from 60% in 1800 to near 90% by 1900, thanks to cheap books and mandatory schooling. You're holding a child's primer now, printed in vibrant colours with steam-driven precision. It's simple rhymes teaching reading to mill workers' kids. The quirky fringe. Some printers use steam presses for ghostly effects, translucent inks, or embossing for spiritualist pamphlets, playing on Victorian occult fads like printing seance invites with eerie glows. You're sensing the economic muscle. Steam lowers costs, making books no longer luxury goods. In Leipzig, Germany, publishers like Brockhaus churn out encyclopedias, their multi-volume sets democratizing knowledge for middle-class parlors. The press's roar is relentless. Cylinders whir, paper reels unspool, and ink rollers hum like a mechanical lullaby. But there's a catch. The noise and pace exhaust workers who dodge whirling belts and scalding pipes. You're imagining a printer's apprentice, wiping sweat from his brow, muttering about progress while dodging a jammed cylinder. Historians still argue whether steam presses sparked mass literacy or merely met its rising demand, with some crediting educational reforms over technology, while others point to the sheer volume of print flooding markets. Steam printing was like the internet for Victorians. Suddenly, everyone's an expert. But half the news is about miracle cures or royal gossip. The technology evolves fast. By the 1860s, web-fed presses use continuous paper rolls, not single sheets, boosting output to 20,000 impressions per hour. You're in a Chicago print shop, watching a Ho rotary press thunder through Harper's Weekly, its political cartoons skewering corrupt bosses with sharp lines. Illustrations boom too. Steam enables halftone images, where photos are broken into dots for printing, bringing lifelike portraits to magazines. You're studying one now, a grainy image of Lincoln, the dots almost dancing under a magnifying glass. The global reach expands. In colonial India, steam presses print vernacular newspapers, fueling anti-British sentiment. In Japan, post-Meiji Restoration, they adopt Western presses, printing textbooks to modernize. You're flipping through a Tokyo broadsheet, its kanji crisp beside imported Roman type, a fusion of East and West. The press's rhythm is relentless yet soothing. Paper feeds, ink slaps, sheets stack in neat piles. You're helping stack them now, the paper's texture rough but satisfying, each bundle a slice of a changing world. Yet, challenges loom. Steam presses are pricey, favoring big publishers over small shops, concentrating power. Censorship persists. Tsarist Russia bans radical prints, but underground presses churn in secret, much like Luther's day. You're slipping into one, the air damp with basement mildew, as dissidents print manifestos under flickering lamps. The debate lingers. Did steam amplify voices or drown out the little guy? For now you're lost in the clatter, the steam's hiss blending with the city's pulse outside, a London fog creeping in. The press's roar softens as night falls, its rhythm a hypnotic drone, carrying you toward the next chapter of print's evolution. Each sheet a whisper of progress. You're stepping out of the steam-powered clamour of 19th century print shops. The hiss of pistons fading like a distant storm as you glide into the cleaner, more precise world of 20th century printing. It's the early 1900s, and you're standing in a bustling Chicago workshop. The air sharp with the chemical tang of ink solvents and the faint hum of electric lights overhead. The industrial roar has given way to a new era, offset lithography, a game changer that's about to make printing faster, sharper, and cheaper than ever. Picture yourself watching a gleaming offset press in action. Its rollers spin smoothly, transferring images from a flat metal plate to a rubber blanket, then onto paper with a clarity that makes steam prints look smudgy. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a revolution in how images and text flood the world, from glossy magazines to colourful posters plastered on city walls. Offset lithography transforms printing into a high-volume art form, perfect for the mass media age. The mainstream historical fact is that offset printing, commercialized in the early 1900s after Ira Rubel's 1904 breakthrough, used photographic processes to create plates, allowing for vibrant, multicolor prints and dominating publishing by mid-century. Think Life magazine's vivid spreads, with millions of copies weekly. You're holding one now, its pages bursting with Kodachrome ads and war photos, the colors popping like a carnival. Unlike steam presses, which slammed type directly onto paper, offset uses a flexible rubber blanket to transfer the image, reducing wear on plates and enabling crisp reproductions on varied surfaces, newsprint, cardstock, even tin. You're watching the process. A zinc plate etched with a light-sensitive coating captures a negative image from a camera, then gets inked only where needed, thanks to water-repelling grease-based ink, a chemistry trick that feels like magic. You're running your fingers over a freshly printed poster, its reds and blues vibrant, advertising a new Ford Model T. The press hums, its rollers gliding like a well-oiled ballet, producing thousands of sheets per hour. The quirky tidbit, early offset printers sometimes used gelatin plates, yep, like jello molds, before metal became standard, giving printing a dessert a whole new meaning. Imagine a press operator licking a plate for luck, only to grimace at the chemical taste. The technology's precision comes from photography. You're peering through a darkroom's red glow, where negatives are developed, plates exposed, and images burned in with ultraviolet light. This allows for half-tone dots, tiny grids that create shades from black and white photos, making Marilyn Monroe's smile or a moon landing snapshot leap off the page. Offset made everything look so good. Suddenly, every toothpaste had promised a Hollywood smile. And you're buying it, because who can resist a four-color grin? You're in a New York publisher's office now, 1950s, where Time magazine plans its next issue. Editors demand color spreads, war heroes, fashion shoots, enabled by Offset's ability to layer cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, CMYK, for full spectrum vibrancy. The press's efficiency slashes costs. Books, once a middle-class splurge, now fill dime store racks. You're grabbing a paperback, say Orwell's 1984, its cover glossy, its price a mere quarter, thanks to Offset's economies of scale. By the 1960s, over 80% of commercial printing uses this method, from cereal boxes to textbooks. As you dive deeper, the cultural shift hits. In London, you're browsing a newsstand stuffed with Vogue and National Geographic, their photos so sharp you feel transported to Parisian runways or African savannas. Offset enables mass customization. Political campaigns print tailored flyers, businesses churn out branded stationery. You're in a small-town print shop, helping align a plate on a Heidelberg press, its German engineering purring as it spits out church bulletins. The rhythm's hypnotic. Rollers whir, paper feeds, sheets stack in neat piles, each one a perfect replica. But challenges persist. Plate preparation is finicky. One misaligned negative and your colors bleed like a kid's watercolor mishap. You're imagining a printer cursing as magenta skews green, ruining a batch of movie posters. Historians still argue whether offset was a true revolution or just Steam's natural successor, with some claiming its impact on visual culture, ads, comics, packaging outweighed its technical leap, while others credit it for enabling global literacy by flooding schools with affordable texts. You're pondering this in a quiet moment, standing by a humming press in Paris, the Eiffel Tower faintly visible through a window. The debate adds depth. Offset made print universal, but did it dilute quality, flooding markets with pulp fiction and propaganda? In Nazi Germany, Offset printed millions of posters. In the US, it fueled anti-war zines by the 1960s, showing its neutral power. Offset printing was like Instagram filters for the 20th century. Everything looks better. even if it's just a laundry detergent ad promising whiter whites. The technology evolves. By the 1970s, phototypesetting replaces metal type, using light to project fonts onto film, speeding plate making. You're in a California shop, watching a linotype machine give way to a photo composer, its beam dancing to form letters. Color separation improves too. Cameras split images into CMYK layers, enabling psychedelic album covers for bands like the Beatles. You're holding one now, Sgt. Pepper's vibrant collage, a testament to offset's range, the paper slick under your fingers. Some printers experimented with scented inks, rose for romance novels, pine for travel guides, hoping to make reading multisensory. Though it mostly made warehouses smell like potpourri, you're chuckling at a whiff of lavender from a poetry chapbook, imagining readers sneezing through sonnets. Globally, offset spreads. In Japan, manga explodes, their fine lines perfect for high-speed presses. In India, textbooks in Hindi and Tamil flood schools. You're flipping through a Delhi-printed math book, its diagrams clear, its price low enough for rural students. Yet, the digital age looms. By the 1980s, computers hint at direct-to-plate systems, cutting out film entirely. You're sensing the shift, but for now, offset reigns. Its role as a steady pulse, its output flooding the world with color and ideas. In a São Paulo print shop, you're helping stack glossy brochures, the tropical air heavy outside. The press's hum softens as evening falls, its rhythm blending with city sounds, a car horn, a street vendor's call. Each printed sheet feels alive, a snapshot of a visual age, lulling you toward the final leap in printing's slow, steady march. You're easing out of the vibrant hum of offset presses, their colorful output still dancing in your mind as you step into the sleek, humming world of the late 20th and early 21st centuries, where digital printing reshapes the landscape of ink and paper. It's the 1990s, and you're in a Silicon Valley tech lab, the air buzzing with the faint static of computers and the clean scent of ozone from laser printers. Picture yourself peering over a technician's shoulder as a digital press whirs to life. No heavy plates or inky rollers here, just a stream of data feeding directly to a high-speed printer, spitting out pages with pinpoint precision. The world of printing is no longer bound by metal or chemicals. It's gone virtual, with digital files driving lasers and inkjets to create everything from personalized mailers to 3D printed objects. You're holding a freshly printed photo book now, its images crisp from a digital press, each page tailored to a single customer's memories, ordered online and delivered in days. This digital shift isn't just about speed, it's about flexibility and scale, transforming how we share and consume information. The mainstream historical fact is that digital printing, pioneered in the 1990s with technologies like Xerox's DocuTech and HP's Indigo presses, enabled on-demand printing, slashing waste and allowing for short runs. Think a single book versus thousands, printed in hours, not weeks. You're watching an Indigo press in action, its electrostatic drums charging to attract toner, layering colors in a dance of pixels that rivals offset's quality, but with zero setup fuss. No plates to etch, no molds to cast, just a file sent from a computer, rendering text and images via algorithms. The quirky tidbit? Early digital printers could print edible ink on cakes or cookies, turning birthday parties into a canvas for pixelated frosting. Imagine biting into a pixelated Happy 30th and tasting sugar instead of toner. You're flipping through a custom zine now, printed for a niche art collective, its run of 50 copies impossible in the offset era's economies of scale. Digital printing thrives on personalization. Direct mail ads with your name, textbooks updated mid-semester, even wallpaper tailored to your living room's vibe. The process is hypnotic. Lasers etch images onto a drum. Toner clings like dust to static, then fuses to paper with heat. You're in a small print shop in Tokyo, the neon glow of the city filtering through windows, as a machine churns out manga proofs for an artist tweaking her panels in real time. The speed is dizzying. Hundreds of pages per minute, each one potentially unique. No need for the massive runs of steam or offset days. Digital printing promised a paperless future. Yet here we are, drowning in personalized junk mail. Your name on every flyer, like the printer's got a crush on you. The technology's roots trace to laser printing, born in the 1970s with Xerox's 9700, but by the 2000s, it's mainstream. Publishers print books on demand via platforms like Amazon's CreateSpace, cutting warehouses and pulping costs. You're imagining a writer in London uploading a novel, a reader in Sydney ordering it, and a local printer spitting it out overnight. Global publishing with a click. The quirky fringe. Some digital presses experimented with conductive inks, printing circuits on paper, turning books into literal power sources. Imagine a sci-fi novel that lights up its own cover. If only the battery didn't die in a week. As you delve deeper, the implications unfold. In a Bangalore classroom, you're seeing students clutch digitally printed textbooks, updated with the latest syllabus, affordable for schools with tight budgets. Digital's flexibility fuels niche markets, self-published authors, indie magazines, even 3D printed prototypes. Yes, 3D printing counts, extruding plastic or metal layer by layer to print objects from rocket parts to prosthetics. You're holding a 3D printed keychain now, its layers tactile under your fingers, a quirky leap from Gutenberg's flat pages. The technology democratizes. Small businesses print their own menus. Artists sell bespoke posters at conventions. But challenges linger. Digital presses are pricey, and quality varies. Early inkjets smudged like a rainy day, though modern ones rival offset's sharpness. Historians still argue whether digital printing revolutionized publishing or just extended offset's legacy, with some saying its on-demand model empowered creators, while others argue it flooded markets with low-quality self-publishing. Think 50 Shades of Grey born from a print-on-demand whim. You're pondering this in a quiet Berlin cafe, a digitally printed poetry chapbook on the table. Its minimalist cover a nod to modern tastes. The debate adds depth. Digital printing cuts barriers, but does it dilute the craft, with algorithms replacing artisans? In education, it's a boon. African universities print localized materials, bypassing shipping delays. In marketing, it's a beast. Data-driven ads target you with eerie precision, like that coupon for coffee you didn't know you needed. Digital printing's so flexible, it's like a yoga instructor for paper, bending to every whim, from wedding invites to edible art. Globally, it reshapes industries. In China, e-commerce drives print-on-demand apparel. In Brazil, digital presses churn out election ballots tailored to precincts. You're in a New York startup, watching a 3D printer layer a custom sneaker sole, its hum blending with the city's pulse. The quirky edge? Some artists use digital presses for smart paper, embedded with RFID chips for interactive books, though most just track your reading habits for ads, not magic. As the narrative slows, you're reflecting on printing's arc, from clay seals to digital dreams. Each step, from Bisheng's fragile types to this laser-driven age, built a world where ideas flow freely, yet the core remains. Ink meeting surface, sharing stories. The cafe's lights dim, the printer's hum softens to a whisper, like a fan's gentle drone. You're sinking deeper, the weight of countless pages, ancient, inked, digital, cradling you. The world fades, each printed word a lullaby, easing you towards slumber. Printing's legacy is vast, but tonight it's a soft blanket, wrapping you in centuries of shared thought, guiding you to dreams where letters dance under starlight, their forms eternal, their voices hushed. You're drifting now, the hum of digital presses fading into a soft, distant murmur like waves lapping a quiet shore. The journey through printing's history, from ancient seals to pixel-perfect prints, settles around you like a warm quilt, each chapter a thread weaving the story of human connection. You're no longer in a workshop or cafe. You're floating in a timeless space, surrounded by the gentle rustle of pages, the faint scent of ink and paper blending with the cool night air. Every press, every type, every book you've touched tonight has built this moment. A world where ideas, once carved in clay or cast in metal, now flow effortlessly, binding us across time. Feel the weight of those pages lift, leaving only their whispers, soft as a breeze, carrying you deeper into calm. The clatter of Gutenberg's press, the hiss of steam, the whir of lasers, they all dissolve into a single soothing rhythm, like a heartbeat slowing to rest. Let your thoughts blur, like ink on damp paper, each worry smudging away. You're safe here, cradled by history's quiet pulse, the world outside falling silent. As the stars bloom overhead, each printed word becomes a constellation, guiding you gently, ever so gently, toward a peaceful, dream-filled sleep. Sweet dreams.